Good morning, everyone. Here, this is Shankar and Andrea with the Shanks Show, streaming live to you from San Antonio this morning on this wonderful May 31st. Andrea, how are you?
You're so good at that.
Oh, really? Well, it
Yeah, your
took me
introductions are
many
awesome.
years to get there.
Yeah, I'm working on it. Working
How
on
do
it.
you like my Northern Lights here?
I think it's a great element to add some variety and some niceness.
All right, do you want some Northern Lights too?
I think so. I got the blue, but it'd be nice to have that little twinkle in the background.
Awesome. All right, today we'll talk about business systems. I know you, as an operational manager, as the chief operations officer, you have to think about that a lot. However, on my end, I also have business systems on my mind, and the reasons for those might be slightly different. So I will let you talk about the operations side, and on my end, I will just say something about the high level. There's two things really. The number one concern is leading a company and scaling it, making sure that things are repeatable and predictable, even when I am not nonstop present, and also, leadership in general. And that is something that I have noticed with being a freelancer, having been a freelancer, and then slowly growing the business, adding more team members, adding more customers. Really, customization at some point becomes your enemy. So you have to find out where is that happy medium where you have studied your field so much that you know, okay, this is the sweet spot. This is the way you can deliver high value, high quality, effective systems at a rate that is acceptable for the customer and for the company. Customization is cool. We switched our
Oh,
you
I'm
switched to
sorry.
Andrea. Okay. Um, Andrea, keep.
I was
Okay. So,
customizing. You
all
said
right. Why don't
customization.
you go? I completely lost my train of thought here.
Well, I think customization is not a bad thing for customers who pay customization pricing. And I think that just leading operations, I'm overseeing the day to day. You see the big picture, but when you get super granular and you start really thinking about how to manage process, you're embracing design, planning, control, performance, strategy, and to customize every single customer. I mean, of course, you're not going to just slap things together with a copy paste every single time, unless it's a proven method, a proven process, a part of yours, and you get the same results every time, which are really great. But in general, I think customers have a hard time understanding that when they make certain requests that are like way out in left field, that there is a process, like there's a production cycle that we have to go through. It's not like it can be churned out tomorrow. And if it is something that is super specialized and specific, and doctors know this really well, they will send you to a cardiologist, they'll send you to a podiatrist, they'll send you to a neurologist, because it's a completely different field. It's a completely different way of operating. And there are certain little niche things that you need to consider when you are treating the patient. And so for us, as a full healthcare marketing agency, we have to have a process and system in place so that we can make sure that we're successful and that it sticks to what we're really strong at, what we're really good at.
Exactly. So, why should you, as a doctor, have systems in place? Well, really, there are so many reasons, but one that I know will hit close to home is you want sometimes to be able to leave your clinic and know that business is still running. You want to know that patients are still able to place appointments, patients are still able to request scripts, and patients are still able to come in and see your staff. And that is only possible if you have very nicely defined systems. At the same time, on the branding, on the public relations, on the marketing side of things, that is something where we excel at. And one aspect of our business moving forward, in the past we have very much focused on just taking care of that for you, for healthcare professionals, but doing that, putting all of that on our plate, comes at a high premium. Now, moving forward, I want you to learn systems where, in collaboration with us, but on a lower scale collaboration, you continuously put out a message of hope, a message that informs, a message that inspires, and a message that grows your clinic, that grows your brand. Where if you are just a one person practice, grows your person brand. And if you have a larger clinic, or maybe even you run a hospital, you give the hospital, you give the facility a human side. And that is something that we will teach you live tonight at 6 p.m. Central Time. And I'm going to blend in an address, shanks.healthcare, that you can go to and sign up for that. 1 hour and 30 minutes pop, and you'll be given all the information on how to do that yourself. Andrea, do you think that business owners can be in business forever, can run their business forever?
Absolutely. If you are immortal, absolutely. If you never plan to retire, absolutely. If you never want to ever leave your office or expand or pass the baton. No, obviously, I'm being facetious, but it is, I think it's a problem that we all have. We don't think about tomorrow, 5 years from now, 10 years, 15, 20, and think about how, I mean, if we're to be quite honest, I mean, you have for the longest time had everything in your head. And there was a transition period when you were going from freelancing to cooperating with me to managing a team and then stepping away from doing all of the day to day. And it really truly was a process that I think took about a full year. It was a little bit easier for me stepping in because I saw how quickly it was to make assumptions that people would just know step 1 through 3. So you begin explaining at step 4, but that's not necessarily the case. And so when your team is coming behind you, or if somebody is taking over something that you began, it's really important to have an A to Z process, step 1, 2, 3, checklist, going over the preliminary, even if it feels rudimentary, just to make sure that everybody's on the same page. And if my job is to carry out your vision for the company and to support you, I've got to have good strategy. And for me, a lot of that has to just deal with getting everything out of your head and making sure that the process runs smoothly because everybody, like I said, is on the same page. And so the same would apply then to um, the group that you were mentioning.
Yeah, well, I'm the first one to admit that these systems documentation, the systems documentation is far from being perfect. Actually, whenever someone joins your team, and even if it's just an intern, and we have an amazing intern right now, but even if it's just an intern that joins you, your lack of systems is exposed because you have to take time to explain what people should do. And If that time is excessive, then you know that you don't have documentation, you don't have a system. Today
Yeah,
is, today is the last day of the month, which means it's billing time, which is one of the most favorite times of any business owner. However, once your business gets to have a certain size like ours, billing gets a big task. So for us, it's 4 hours. I spend 4 hours every last day of the month. And that is something that, for example, we want to have a team member take care of, but there's no systems, no documentation in place. So
all in your head.
that's what we'll address today, right? But
Yeah, and I was going to say that even beyond that, you say your systems or lack thereof are exposed when you add a new team member. I
hmm,
would even say down to offboarding. So we think about onboarding, maybe that's a little easier to wrap our heads around because this person's coming in. We need them to know there's a standard way of operating and a way to do things. But I think even when you're offboarding, there should still be a very solid process that is clear to them, that is smooth, a good experience, not just coming on, but even leaving, so that there's nothing hanging in the air and there's a lack of closure. Also, if you have tools that you're getting back, whether it be digitally or physical assets, you want to make sure that that's accounted for. So it is very interesting. It's very, very interesting to see at what point does that become important enough to make a priority in getting together, and how long can you ride the wave of just sort of winging it or doing it, in your head. And it's painful. It's very painful. It
yeah,
can
yeah.
be.
So again, to repeat what I have to offer here today, a live masterclass which happens on Zoom tonight at 6 p.m. Central Time. The topic is 3 easy ways for healthcare professionals to market themselves. And what we will teach, what we will look at, is specifically the mindset of finding the discipline and motivation to implement systems in how you market, how you put a personal brand on yourself, how you create content, and how you push that out. If that is something that appeals to you, go to shanks.healthcare, shanks.healthcare, and RSVP now. There is not going to be recording. You have to be on there live. That's how you compensate me with your time. All right, Andrea, do you want to briefly talk about a very super important meeting we have tomorrow? No, actually, not tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, June 2nd.
Sure. I would encourage anyone who is interested in knowing what is happening in the direct care world in terms of legislation to come join us. We have a very qualified individual who is a DO, JD, MBA. His name is Dr. Phil Eskew, and he is going to grace us with his presence at 7 p.m. June 2nd. And this will be online through a platform called AirMeet. So everyone will have the opportunity to network and personally talk to him. So we have a lot of great people who have signed up so far. Shout out to Eagle Care and RX Benefits for helping this come together. But yeah, it's definitely something that's going to be interesting. I've taken a peek at the amazing PowerPoint, and it's always over my head. It's like legal lees. But for those who dabble or need to understand what's happening to them as a physician, with direct care, I highly recommend coming into the room.
Okay, well, that should be very interesting. Again, anyone who is running a practice under the direct care, direct primary care, or direct pay model should consider attending. It's going to be an opportunity for you to ask your questions. How does the legal framework here in Texas pertain to free market medicine? And Dr. Phil Askew is an amazing resource. He knows so much and he will happily share that with you. Airmeet is a platform where you can also meet virtually, network virtually. There's going to be tables present, virtual tables, where you can interact with the speaker, Dr. Askew himself, and other attendees. So go to San Antonio FMMA.org. It's blended in here, there, San Antonio FMMA.org, to be part of that. I'm going to blend in a clip that explains a little bit more about Dr. Askew, and then we are done for today. See you tomorrow for the Shanks Show.
It's fascinating to me that these laws were ever passed. They were federally encouraged, so a lot of them are very, very similar from one state to the next. And it's got an R next to it, then you have some formal registration requirement. And I'm probably missing some R's here, but I found all the ones I could and put them on. I've even got a few question marks because I've seen some documentation in those states that said a registration was required and then couldn't find the official documentation when I went to look.
I like this Heath Ledger quote from when he was playing the Joker when he says, "It's all part of the plan." That's kind of how you find yourself dealing with all this broker terminology that you don't understand. So
I put the quote up there, "Scare him into it," because I heard this from one of my attendings in residency. And it came up in multiple contexts where they thought a patient should be doing a certain procedure and the patient didn't want to do it. And the decision to not do it seemed irrational to that attending physician and to many others involved in the patient's care.
ERISA plans, health plans, the IRS would call various plans health plans, insurance plans. These are all defined by different people at different levels, and they are not equivalent. Okay, ERISA is defined by the Department of Labor. Your health plan is defined by the IRS, and your insurance.
And that registration is hopefully with the Board of Medicine. That's who you would talk to first.